Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Flawed Therapist podcast. And today I'm very excited to be chatting to Andy Hunt himself. And Andy, welcome. Thank you for being here. And I've known you for a long time, probably longer than um, many other of my colleagues. And I forgot to ask you before we started, how do I introduce you? You're a therapist, you're EFT practitioner, EFT trainer, and
Uh,
developer of identity healing. And I'm not letting
yes.
you to get a word in edgeways, so I'll let you
Okay.
speak.
No, that's all of that is true. Yes, a therapist. I think of myself as a therapist and trainer.
Mm,
That was how I describe myself, and a creator of identity healing.
mm. And you're based in Northumberland?
In the sunny, well, it is today, sunny northeast of England, just 60 miles shy of the Scottish border on the North Sea. So,
And you
yes.
also work online as
Most of my work is
most
online,
mostly
actually.
online. So
Yeah,
people from
yeah,
around
yeah.
the world
I know
can
hundreds
find
of
you.
people from the neck up.
Fantastic. So before we get into all the difficult stuff and the tricky stuff and the flawed stuff, um, uh, you can have a couple of sentences to blow your own trumpet and say what you're brilliant at and what you love doing and any achievements you want to emphasize, just to start with, and then it will be downhill from that.
Okay. Damn, I didn't prepare for any kind of blowing of my own trumpet. It's not my natural state.
Just
Um,
improvise.
okay, so I read this, I think I read this quote just recently, which I think sums up therapists actually. And that's from Sunyu Suzuki, who did the Big Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind. And he said to his students, you're all perfect and you could all do with some work. So, so I think that's kind of like, yeah, on a good day, I'm fair to middling, often quite reasonable, but it's not guaranteed. I am rumors of my enlightenment are greatly exaggerated. So I just kind of futz along like everybody else, I think. At least I assume everyone else is futzing along and they're not perfect and I'm missing out.
Okay, so that's your chance to boast. Gone. Now,
Another opportunity lost. I'll have it on my gravestone. Opportunities lost.
now we'll get into the nitty-gritty. So,
Yes.
um, one of my first questions is usually on the lines of, many people see therapists, of whatever modality as kind of assorted, solid people. They're calm, collected, their relationships are all fine. And they're doing well. So
Uh-huh.
would you like to dispel a myth about the glamour of being a therapist?
The
Um,
glamour. There's glamour? Okay. Yes, well, yeah. I have to confess, if I saw a therapist who gave the appearance of looking sorted and perfect, I would run away, basically, because I think it's ridiculous. As far as I know, they're all human beings, and I am too. Um, I didn't know there was any glamour.
so
And I've forgotten the question. So remind me of the question. I've wandered off.
I'll simplify it. So what's not so glamorous? What's hard about being a therapist?
Oh, people, they're so difficult. Honestly, you go to the training course, you do all the exercises, and the trainer tells you do this, this, and this, and they'll be sorted. And then, wouldn't you know, people aren't interested in doing what they did in the training, and it turns out to be a whole bunch messier and a damn sight more interesting and harder work for you and harder work for them, which is what makes it interesting, really. But it's yes, the as far as I can tell, there's no instant enlightenment available. Certainly not from me, that's for sure. And it's can be hard work, very satisfying work, but hard, 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 and hard for the client as well.
Yeah. So what we experience in training exercises on the courses we attend is not real.
It's kind of sort of slightly real, but a lot less complicated. I
Mm.
think my analogy is on the kind of on the advert, it looks like if the problem was a knot, it's kind of like one of those lovely little bows, and you pull the two ends of the bow and the knot opens. That's the way the advert looks. You get into the training, you do the exit, and it's like a reef knot, which requires a little bit of unpicking. And then you get to a client, it's something made of barbed wire, brambles, covered in bird shit, and nettles and stuff like that you have to untangle. That's kind of like about that's that big, and it's much more tricky to do that in a real person. There
Yeah,
are real people
I
and have
like
real
that.
stuff like that.
I like the analogy. So, Andy, would you say a few words about how you got into this? Because I know you haven't always been a therapist. You had a proper job.
Well, yeah, okay. Well, okay, so we have to go a long way back. Um, yes, I was kind of like an insecure teenager, and I found out about what were called encounter groups at the time, person-centered therapy, aka Carl Rogers, and I did a person-centered approach institute um, course, which is kind of like a part-time course in the late 70s, early 80s to become a person-centered counselor. I was like, that was my conclusion at the end. Anyway, yeah, so I had no idea how incapable I was until I did that course, and then I kind of found out that, and then I went completely off the counselling thing at all for about 20 years, and then I got into NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and did some courses on that. I thought, oh, this is good. And at the time, I was a software engineer writing computer programs, and I thought I'd just do this for my own interest, and I just getting more and more interested. And then I thought maybe I'll just do 1 day a week. Try this out. Did a NLP psychotherapy course, but I never went for the full accreditation thing. And so I started out doing 1 day a week, Fridays, so I could keep the real job with proper money and earn a pittance on the Fridays if I earned anything at all. And try. And eventually, I gave up the software engineering. I became a full-time therapist.
Well, I do remember meeting you, I think
Right?
at about the time when you were giving up the engineering and
Yes.
getting into therapy full time. I was in awe of your courage and resilience.
That's
And and now I might
stupidity and
say
willful optimism.
recklessness, because
Yes,
again,
yes.
it may appear that therapists are raking it in, kind of the master charge per session. We must be rolling in it, and it's not quite
Yes.
quite what it
No.
looks.
I have a tip for anyone wanting to make a six-figure income. Drop the decimal point, and you instantly have a six-figure income. I just ignore the decimal point, so yeah.
Yeah, great, great. That's about right for most therapists, begin at least beginning in private practice. But
Yeah.
even many years in, it's not necessarily an easy path. And you mentioned in your linguistic programming, I don't mention it very often, but my psychotherapy training was neurolinguistic psychotherapy, but nowadays NLP is sort of a dirty word.
Yes.
How
Yes.
do you deal with that? Because the reputation has been significantly undermined by, let's say, people who have not been using it ethically, appropriately.
No. I adopt the simple solution of never mentioning it, except in polite conversation.
I'm glad we've got the same strategy. Yeah, and of course, I'm very grateful to you and for introducing me to EFT tapping because that
Yes.
really changed my life. That was 22 years ago.
Yes.
Nearly.
Doesn't time fly?
So it does, and it completely transformed my life. So thank you once again.
You're very
Um,
welcome.
so I'm not going to give you any preferential treatment on difficult questions in this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering, with all your experience and all the wonderful tools in your toolkit, and having developed a fantastic model of identity healing, which is based on using EFT tapping with parts, which I love
Mhm.
and I use a lot in my practice, having learned from you. Um, any regrets? Any mistakes you may have made over the years,
Any mistakes? All
things you
right.
think of and cringe.
Well, okay, we could be here for weeks, weeks, years, possibly. Think of and cringe. Yeah. Well, okay, first of all, I have to say I have a terrible memory. I have a memory that would embarrass a goldfish. But I do, in my early days, filled with enthusiasm and totally lacking in any experience. This is after tapping, um, and a lot of the advertising around it, kind of all the super miraculous cures and stuff you could do. I went with some clients. I would attempt to go for the most important thing first to clear it all up, and so they could have a miraculous experience on being
Ooh,
completely cured.
the biggest
So
trauma, the
I would
biggest.
go straight for the trauma, and they would have this very vivid, profound experience, and they say, that's absolutely amazing," and I would never see them again.
I wonder why.
And it took me a while to realize I was scaring the shit out of them.
Mm, mm,
I was a bit slow on the uptake on that, so that's so there are several of those. I'm thinking it's like, oh God, what on earth was I doing?
mm.
Um, yeah, so that's the main cringe factor that
Yeah,
I've got. I'm sure I make loads of other mistakes on a daily basis, but yeah, that was one of the biggies.
yeah, that sounds familiar. And I do remember specifically after learning EFT, I thought I could heal the world, and I would tap on anybody and anything that moved and was willing to let me try, and some of it was not safe. It was not
Yes,
safe
yeah,
practice. So I think, unfortunately, many EFT practitioners who, unless they have a solid mental health background um, at the very beginning, and even those who do have a solid mental health
hmm,
background, I think we may have taken unnecessary risks, and
yes.
I can relate to that, and that's a big regret for me as well.
So if any of my ex-clients are watching, I am so sorry.
Mm,
I was a callow youth who didn't know what he was doing.
mm,
I'd like to think I'm slightly wiser.
mm. Yes, and it's a big deal to acknowledge this. I think this is really hard to acknowledge, and it would be good if we could have acknowledged it in a timely fashion. And nowadays,
Yeah,
when I screw up, I hope I tend to notice a bit quicker.
yeah,
I don't know about you. If you ever screw up
yeah.
nowadays.
What? What? Well, I'm very good at disguising it. I do find myself saying, I shouldn't have said that quite a bit
Yeah.
at times. So it's kind of like I do make mistakes. I try to make my mistakes small ones. Um, that is by no means guaranteed.
Mm.
I would say this is kind of related to this in as a flaw of being overly optimistic about how much I can do with somebody.
Ah.
Like I have an intake process, which I have, which is basically to make sure I only hire good clients,
Oh,
which is to
yes.
say clients who do well with me. But then in the intake process, I'm going, this is a kind of like, this is just on the edge. I could probably do this. And I don't listen to the little voice in my head saying, no, don't do that.
Mm.
And then I end up having a few sessions with it and it doesn't go well just
Mm.
because it's just a mismatch of personalities. So it's kind of like I should be much more pessimistic, I think, in my intake process
Mm.
would probably save us both from some discomfort, I would say.
So maybe some unrealistic expectations from you and
Yeah, I think so. Or kind of like an idea, yeah, I think I could do this. I should be able to do this.
mm,
And without this kind of, I usually have a fairly good internal signal whether somebody's the right kind of client for me, but then I ignore the absence of that signal
okay.
sometimes. So yes, I'm trying to get better at that because it's there's only so much humiliation I can take in a week. So
So ignoring your intuition may be
something like that. Yeah.
something to consider. Okay. Let me just have a quick look at anything. Oh, that's a good question. I enjoyed asking of my other interviewees. Are there any areas where you struggle to walk your talk? Are there maybe some things that you maybe uh, advising your clients or expecting of your clients, or and not necessarily able or willing to do yourself?
Um, okay. I can sincerely say not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
I mean, the question about what are the therapist laws, you'd be much better asking my clients because I'm sure they could come up with a list. I think after my initial over enthusiasm, let's say, I downplay what I think I could do, and I wouldn't want a client to do anything I haven't done myself
Okay,
because
that's
I
a
think
really good
that's that
policy. Yeah.
because I think that's only fair, really. Ask people to do things you wouldn't be prepared to do yourself is a bit much, I think.
Yeah.
Um, so it reins in a lot of my more stupid impulses. Have I done this? No, I'm not going to ask them to do
Okay. No, I like that. I've got a similar policy as well. I wouldn't ask a client to do something I haven't done. Though some things I've done, possibly they're not the best thing to do for my clients. So there's a bit of discernment required there as well.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, talking about what clients might say about you, they may be under impression that you're totally sorted, but when it comes to your nearest and dearest, they know
Mhm.
better. So
Oh,
I'm
yes.
just wondering what your friends and family and other people close to you might say about your flaws.
Well, I'm going to be really careful about this because my much better half may watch this, so I could be setting myself up for some trouble. I think being too certain of things
Ah,
and not willing to kind of entertain alternative points of view. Like if I decided, yes, I know what's right,
all
and
right.
then
So thinking that you
so
know
yeah,
what's right.
yes. So I mean, my better half can't be sitting here going, "Yes, I should be agreeing with that." So
Ah,
yes, so that's one. Um, hmm, I don't know. I can't think of anything. I'm sure they can. I'll have to ask when we're done.
hmm. Just imagine stepping into her shoes. What else might she say about you? I know you're good at second positioning.
You mean that's kind of not too complimentary or about my
Not,
flaws?
yeah, this
Okay,
is
about
an
my
interview about
flaws.
your
Okay.
flaws.
Hmm, not listening enough
Okay, not
or not acknowledging what's being said in a way that kind of makes sense or demonstrates that I've heard, even though I think I've heard perfectly well, I would say.
so we
So
think,
kind of communicating my understanding, if you like, and
oh,
acknowledging something. I tend to kind of like, I tend to be kind of solution oriented. So I'm wondering, how could we make this better before the kind of even like the problem's been described?
rather than listening and validate,
I'm a bloke.
acknowledging.
What? I'm a man. What can I do? It's genetic. It's my excuse,
Well,
and I'm sticking to
well,
it.
excuses. My experience is that many therapists, me included, may be very good at listening to our clients, but maybe not quite as good
Mhm.
at listening to our nearest and dearest. Might that be the case?
It's entirely possible. I think with clients it's different because the client is you're there for a purpose.
Okay.
And so there's kind of like something they want to achieve or get rid of. So there's a kind of a joint venture. If it's in a kind of relationship or friendship kind of thing, that's a much more kind of well, in one way, a much more open thing and also a much deeper thing. So I think they're different. So my kind of like, let's head towards the solution,
Yeah.
down the horses, let's go,
Yeah.
might work in a therapeutic situation, but it's not such a good idea in a relationship,
Yeah,
I
and
would
and
say.
for context, your ways of working are quite solution oriented, goal oriented. People come,
Yeah, kind of
yeah,
fairly, yeah, I kind of think, yes, fairly directed, I would say,
yeah,
with the consent of my client, of course. So,
yeah. And any shortcomings of that, do you think, working directively?
um, I don't know about short. well, I'm sure there are shortcomings, but everything, well, the pros and cons to everything. I would say the con is, the against thing is, um, you have to be very careful to kind of rein. I have to be very careful to rein myself in and not to rush
Mm.
with a client. I would say that was the thing because I have in my mind I have several things. Oh, I could do this, do this, do this, do this, but then you can. I try to work very much at the speed of the client. So sometimes I might be way ahead. Sometimes I'm way behind them and having to catch up. But oftentimes I'm kind of into what we could do next or something like that.
Mm.
So it does require quite a bit of hold on, just just back up a little bit, give them a little bit of space
Mm.
to do that. So I'd say that would be the danger. And sometimes I'm sure I've done that, and then sometimes I'm sure I've been behind. But you know,
So given what you've said about maybe the tendency to think that you're right, uh,
mhm.
do you think that you ever kind of get led maybe by your ego, who goes like, I know what to do, I'm the expert, I'm the wise one, I'm the authority. Um, does that
um,
ever happen?
yes and no. Well, it kind of well, yes and no, and I'll explain that. I think because I know my tendency quite well after all these years of uh, making educational mistakes, um, I'm kind of quite careful about that. But I think so. Think I'm reasonably good at keeping my agenda and my ego out of it. However, I think if and I'm using the processes I'm familiar with because, of course, if you have a hammer, everything's a nail. And that kind of doing that kind of processing, I have in my mind the way the process should work, like in an ideal circumstances. And if the client wanders off from the process to kind of like do their own thing, then I can get a bit impatient. Not
Mm.
impatient, but kind of work quite hard to get them back on track. So it's kind of like it's so my agenda is to kind of run through the process because I think it'll do them some good.
Okay, okay.
And then, but
And if they
also,
deviate, that it does not
yeah, I'm
necessarily
making kind
fit.
of, yeah.
Mm.
And sometimes I do things that I think this is probably not good because some clients, especially the ones that have read loads of self-help books or gone on courses and stuff, will try and fix themselves or will try and fix their younger selves by kind of reframing things or kind of trying to fix them or boost their egos. I think just stop, 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 stop. So it's kind of like I'm kind of trying to rein them in from that for what I think is a more useful thing of like dealing with whatever's there and letting whatever needs to come out naturally rather than rushing in to fix. And I
Okay.
understand why they do it, but I can get quite impatient with that after a while.
Okay. And is there anything within that kind of a process where um the client kind of is going one way, you want them to go another way? Um, I'm wondering whether you experience any self-doubt or maybe imposter syndrome or any other circumstances that might kick that off now or in the past. Any particular things that might
So, yeah,
um, kick in your inner critic?
I think I've done a lot of work on my inner critic. So my inner critic is fairly quiet most of the time. I think goes back to that question about finding the right client. I think with the right clients, I am extremely confident in the client's ability to heal in themselves, given the right kind of conditions. Well, it's a very person-centered idea, so I guess that's stuck with me. Um, I think my doubt would come out if I'd realised I'd chosen the wrong client and things are going off in a direction that I feel like I'm no good at, or something that's kind of like what you're wanting from me is not something I can do. And then there's a kind of conflict. And like, okay, so
Mm.
how am I going to provide? What am I going to do now? I can't give the person what they obviously want, but I didn't know beforehand because that wasn't what was in the intake session.
Mm.
So there's a kind of having to uh, find a way to acknowledge I'm not up to the job, or I'm not able to do what they do, without blaming them for it.
Okay, so when it isn't quite the right fit, what does it feel like to have to acknowledge that I'm not up to helping this particular person? Because in the past, well, I'm sure you're wiser and older now, and I'm wiser and older. In the past,
Yes.
thought, oh yes, I can help anybody
Yes.
if they
Well,
put
I think
themselves out there.
yes. After the first 5 or 10 years, I came to the conclusion that nothing works for everything, and so I see it mostly as a failure of discernment for me working with that client.
Mm,
Really, that's something I didn't like. I didn't respond to
mm,
any of the kind of warning signs or the thing doubts. So it's not. I mean, because there are lots of people I don't work with. I don't work with kids. I don't work with couples. I don't work with people with addictions. I don't feel bad about that. It's just I'm not the right person for those people.
mm.
I just don't know, don't know what to do in those situations. So I don't think it's. I don't take it personally. I just kind of think, this. I could have done a better job of sorting this out before we even got started.
Okay. So that discernment, maybe the failure of discernment, that can
I
be
think so. Yeah. Or
comfortable.
another one slipped through. But I mean, so now it's kind of like, oh, well, what can I learn? Excuse me. What can I learn from this? How can I make a better decision next time? What kind of person do I need to avoid or pass on to someone who's more suited for doing that?
Mm,
I think that gets more difficult if somebody's referred them to me.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if somebody refers me, somebody, I kind of feel there's a little tiny little bit of pressure to accept them because somebody else has sent them to me as well.
And if you didn't accept them, then what would that mean about you?
I I don't know what it would mean about me. I can imagine the other person being a bit kind of, oh.
Mm.
So
So you might disappoint the.
it might, yeah, they might be disappointed. I might uh, feel a bit stupid that they've referred somebody to somebody who's turned them down.
Mm,
So, excuse me. So I'm not very keen on doing that.
mm,
Um, that hasn't happened.
mm,
I've happily the ones that people have been referred to me, I've been able to work with perfectly well. But I have as a kind of uh, a problem waiting in the wings
yeah. So that
at
that
some point. It's a possibility.
would be difficult if that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So is there anything else that is difficult, challenging, or squirmy about doing the work that you do, Andy? Because I know you also teach, obviously you teach students your
Yeah.
model of identity healing, and whilst it's not therapy work, it's got kind of educational and therapeutic context as well.
Yeah.
Anything that's challenging about that? You have to give me some more flaws. You
Some
sound
more flaws. I'm
you sound
sorry.
too perfect.
Okay.
Try
Okay.
harder. Try
Okay.
harder.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, in an effort to redeem myself
Yeah, redeem
by
yourself.
being more
Just
flawed.
give me
Uh,
something juicy.
okay. Um, I have a terrible memory.
Mm,
And I also, so I take notes. And I also have terrible handwriting. So I can't read and understand my notes.
mm,
So my clients will say, remember last time when we worked on this? And uh, oh no. So in my mind, I'm going, no. So sometimes I'll nod in the hopes that some piece of context will dredge it up from my unconscious. There's always a risk with that they'll go on to ask me directly if I remember, then I'll have to fess up and say that I don't. So I would love to have a much better memory than I do.
mm.
So I can kind of keep track of things and go back to things without having to look at my notes and try and read my own handwriting. So I have very secure notes, not even I can read them.
Very secure, indeed. Mm.
So that's one thing. I'd love to have a much better memory for things like that. What else? I did make a little list.
Just check what's on your list. I will check my questions just in case I can help
Hmm.
you out.
Yeah. I think the main one would be when all you have is a hammer,
Mm.
everything's a nail. I think that's really easy to get sucked into that, especially if you love something. I like it really. So I'm very heavily invested on identity because I am.
Mm.
So I tend to see, oh, I could use that there. I could use this there. I could use this there. And so it's kind of like I can perhaps sometimes go off on the wrong track or a less useful track. And I think that's something that I'm still prone to a little bit is when somebody's telling me something, we're kind of going through that, I'll kind of go, ooh, that's interesting. Let's follow that.
Mm.
Rather than this is not in, what the client is after or anything like that. It's just the kind of the novelty or the kind of like, oh, that's in wow, how curious. So I
Oh,
can kind of go down my own interest rather than theirs. I think I'm better than I used to be at that, but it's
mm. Okay, so those curious or
I'm a
significant
sucker for
moments for
novelty.
you. Yeah, okay. No, that's useful to know. So if somebody comes to see you, they better be really boring so that you don't get sucked in to some novel line of thought.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Please don't be interesting. It'll
yeah,
completely derail the
yeah.
process.
No, and I must say, identity healing is a really lovely process, and it's very applicable to many things. But I can see how, when it's your own model, how it would be tempting to apply it to
It's
everything.
it is a kind of temptation to invest in it. However, I do say I select my clients to be the kind of people for whom it would probably be a good fit.
I get it. I get it.
You
Nowadays,
know.
I won't accept any new clients unless they're prepared to play in the sand
Uh-huh.
with me.
Yeah.
So yes, no, I get the selection process. That makes sense. So, um, in what ways do you think you're still a flawed therapist, even after all these decades of personal development and healing? What work, if any, do you still have ongoing in
Oh,
terms of
there's
your personal work?
there's plenty. There's no shortage. As I said, rumors of my enlightenment are greatly exaggerated. So
You
I
know,
think
I'm going to print a t-shirt with that statement.
I've been threatening
Uh,
to print that for years, but
I'm going to do it. And the other
okay.
one, caution ego at work.
Gosh, and the goes at work.
Yeah, I will pay you royalties on that because I
All
think
right, go
these
for it.
these t-shirts will be very, very popular.
I
Um,
think I think I could still be triggered by clients. Like a client will say something or present in some way that touches on something in me.
mm,
That's kind of like, oh, where's this feeling come from? What's going on here?
yeah.
And so I tend to think of those things as just a signpost to where I can develop and take care of that. So it's what can we say? What kind of things? Either be something in a tone of voice or a phrase or something that might remind me of somebody and would set up a response that is not appropriate to the situation
Mm,
at all. And I
yeah.
think, oh, where did this come from? Usually, I think, my fingers are crossed, I'm touching wood, I can bluff my way through the rest of the session, but then I go straight away to kind of like, I've got to take care of this because it's no good being, um, I want to be responsive, not reactive to
Mm,
my clients. And there's no telling what somebody could do or say or the tone of voice or how they look that wouldn't kind of set something off in me because I'm sure there are plenty of buttons left to be pressed.
mm.
I mean, I've got most of the obvious ones, but some people will find your buttons
It sounds like
inadvertently.
you're pretty familiar with your buttons
Oh,
and
yes, 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 yes.
and are ready for any new ones to be pressed. Well,
Um,
not
I'm
new
not
ones,
looking
but
forward to it. I'm not looking forward to it, but if it happens, I know what to do. And if I'm smart, I'll kind of know that that's what's going on.
mm,
Because I think it's terribly easy to react to people
mm,
out of historical stuff,
yeah.
and that might not be good.
Mm,
Especially if there's some kind of dynamic between us that's kind of like is reminiscent of some
yeah.
childhood dynamic,
Yeah.
that I've experienced. It's kind of like you slip back into the very comfortable slippers of the old way of being, and it's not very useful, I would say.
So it sounds like you're very ready to work on your historical stuff,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
part of your day-to-day. Um,
Oh yeah, sure. I think suffering's overrated. Personally, I don't know why people. I had no idea how people go. Oh, it'll be all right. I'll be okay. I'll just kind of endure all the. What are you doing? Kind of like,
so with all that, when do you think you'll be fully fixed and healed?
oh,
Flawless.
never. Well,
Right answer.
yes, I was kind of say, not in this lifetime, probably not in the next, probably not even in the one after that, I would say. I don't think, I think fixed is the wrong goal. It's like a finishing line on a race. Like you have to make it to the finishing line. Whereas I think just being better is good. When I did my NLP training, I just kind of watched these amazing demonstrations on the stage, and somebody would go, and it'd be like fantastic. And I used to wait for the road to Damascus experience, where the clouds would part, the light would shine down on me, and the heavenly choirs would sing, and I would be fixed. Never bloody happened. I was really, really, really pissed off about that for quite a while. Why is it everybody else gets to have the miraculous intervention? And so it's just putting one foot in front of the other. It's much more like gardening than magic, I would say. And I'm a terrible gardener.
Thank you, Andy. I think this is a lovely place for us to stop. It will never be fixed.
No,
Never
no,
be fixed.
not going to be fixed. Not going to pretend that I am.
And it's like gardening and one step in front of the other. Yeah. So thank you so much, Andy. We can pause here. And if you watched this podcast and enjoyed it or listened to it, please like and comment on this video and subscribe to this podcast. Thanks a lot, Andy.
You're welcome.